started with the clock. Not a grand, antique grandfather clock with an ominous pendulum, but the cheap, glowing blue digital numbers on my bedside table. Every night for a week, I'd jolt awake at exactly 3:07 a.m. Not 3:06, not 3:08, 3:07. The silence in my small apartment would be absolute, a thick, heavy blanket smothering the world. The only sound was the frantic thumping of my own heart, a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. The first few times, I brushed it off. Stress, bad pizza, the human body's weird internal alarm clock. I'd roll over, punch my pillow into a more comfortable shape, and will myself back to sleep. But on the fourth night, the dream began. It was always the same. I'd be standing at the end of a long, dark hallway. It wasn't a hallway I recognized from my own life, but in the dream, I knew it intimately. The wallpaper was a faded floral pattern, peeling at the seams, smelling of dust and damp. A single bare bulb dangled from a wire far at the other end, casting a sickly yellow puddle of light that seemed to make the surrounding darkness even thicker. And at the very edge of that light, just where the shadows began to congeal, a figure would be waiting. It was tall, impossibly so. Its head stooped to avoid scraping the ceiling. Its limbs were long and thin, like a spider's legs, and it was utterly still. I could never make out its face. It was just a smudge of deeper blackness, a void in the shape of a man. But I could feel its attention on me, a physical pressure, cold and intent. The dream me would take a step forward. The floorboard would creak, a sound like a dying animal. And then the figure would move. It didn't walk, it unfolded. Its joints seemed to bend in all the wrong directions as it took a single, lurching step towards me. One of its long, spindly arms rising to point a single, pale finger in my direction. That's when I'd wake up. 3:07 a.m. Gasping, my skin clammy with a cold sweat. The image of that pointing finger burned onto the back of my eyelids. I told my girlfriend Sarah about it over coffee. She's pragmatic, a nurse. Her world is ruled by logic, blood pressure, and hard facts. "It's just anxiety, Dan," she said, stirring her latte. "You've been stressed about work. Your subconscious is working it out. It's classic. But it's the same dream, Sarah, every night. And I wake up at the exact same time. Circadian rhythm mixed with a recurring nightmare. It happens. Try drinking some chamomile tea before bed." She smiled, a warm, genuine smile that usually melted my worries. This time, it felt like a band-aid on a gut wound. The next night, it happened again. The hallway, the figure, the unfolding, the pointing. I woke up, my heart trying to batter its way out of my chest. But this time, something was different. As the terror receded and the familiar shapes of my bedroom solidified in the pre-dawn gloom, I became aware of a faint, acrid smell, like ozone after a lightning strike, mixed with something else, something old and coppery, like dried blood. And my throat was sore, raw, as if I'd been screaming. When I shuffled into the bathroom and flicked on the light, I froze. My reflection was pale, my eyes hollowed out by purple bruises. And there, on the side of my neck, were 3 thin red lines. Scratches. They weren't deep, but they were angry looking, beaded with tiny dots of blood. My blood ran cold. I hadn't scratched myself. I'd been asleep. I leaned in closer, my breath fogging the mirror. The scratches were perfectly parallel, about 2 inches long. They looked like they'd been made by fingernails, but not human ones. They were too fine, too precise, like the claws of a large cat or something else. I showed Sarah the next day. Her pragmatic expression faltered for a second. a flicker of unease in her eyes before her professional mask slid back into place. You probably did it in your sleep, Dan. Night terrors can cause physical reactions. You were thrashing around, you scratched yourself. It's not uncommon. With what? I keep my nails short, look at them. I held up my hands. These couldn't make scratches that clean. A seam on your pillowcase maybe? A rough edge on the sheet? You're working yourself up over nothing. She gently touched the scratches, her fingers cool. Put some antiseptic on them. They'll heal. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the logical part of my brain, the part that usually aligned with hers, was screaming that this was wrong. The timing, the dream, the scratches, it was all connected. That night, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I was tired of feeling like a victim in my own bed. I set up my old laptop on the dresser opposite my bed, the camera angled to capture the mattress. I opened a recording program, set it to record for 8 hours, and hit go. Proof. I needed proof. Either that I was thrashing around like a madman or proof of something else. Going to sleep that night was an act of sheer will. Every shadow in my room seemed to hold a new menace. The rustle of my sheets was the sound of something moving in the dark. I lay there, watching the red recording light on the laptop glow like a malevolent eye, waiting for 3:07 a.m. I must have fallen asleep, because the next thing I knew, I was back. The hallway. The damp, dusty smell filled my nostrils. The figure was there, closer this time. I could see more detail. Its skin wasn't just pale. It was the color of a grub pulled from wet soil. Its long fingers ended not in nails, but in points, sharp and dark. And this time, it didn't just point. It spoke. Its voice wasn't a sound heard with the ears. It was a vibration that started in my bones and crawled up into my brain, a dry, rattling whisper like dead leaves skittering across stone. Closer. I tried to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. I tried to scream, but my throat was sealed shut. The figure unfolded, its movements a series of jerky, impossible angles. It took another step, and then another, closing the distance between us. The smell of ozone and old blood was overpowering. Let me in. It raised one of its spindly hands, those dark, pointed fingers reaching for my face. I woke up. It was 3:07. I was drenched in sweat, my lungs burning as I sucked in air. The dream was fading, but the visceral terror remained, a poison in my veins, and my throat, it was on fire. The raw, scraped feeling was worse than ever. I scrambled out of bed, my eyes darting to the laptop. The red light was still on. It had worked. I had it. Proof. I didn't even bother to look in the mirror. I stumbled to the dresser, my hands trembling so badly I could barely use the trackpad. I stopped the recording and saved the file. My heart was a trip hammer. This was it. I'd see myself flailing, see myself scratching my own neck in the throes of the nightmare. I'd show it to Sarah, and we'd laugh about it. We'd have to. I dragged the progress bar to around 3 a.m. and hit play. The screen showed my bedroom, illuminated by the faint city glow filtering through the blinds. It was a monochrome world of greys and deep blacks. I could see the lump of my body under the duvet, rising and falling with the slow, steady rhythm of sleep. 2:59, 3:02, 3:05. My breathing on the video was even. I was sleeping soundly. 3:06, a flicker. The video stuttered for a single frame, a burst of digital noise. When it cleared, I saw it. I wasn't moving. I was still asleep. But something else was in the room. It was a shadow. darker than the rest, standing beside my bed. It was tall, its form indistinct, but the shape was unmistakable. The long, thin limbs, the stooped posture. It was the figure from my dream. A choked sob escaped my lips. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be real. On the screen, the shadow figure leaned over me. It wasn't a trick of the light. It had mass, substance. It bent down, its featureless head hovering just inches from my face. I watched, paralyzed with a horror that was both past and present, as one of its shadowy arms rose. A tendril of darkness extended from its hand, a sharp, pointed tip. It gently, almost lovingly, traced a line down the side of my neck, then another, and another. 3 scratches. I could see my sleeping body flinch, a subtle twitch, but I didn't wake up. The figure straightened up, and then, as if sensing it was being observed, it slowly, deliberately, turned its head towards the camera. There were no eyes, no face, just a terrifying blankness. But I felt its gaze, the same cold, intent pressure from my dream, emanating from the screen. It stared right into the lens, right at me, for a full 10 seconds. Then, another digital flicker. It was gone. The video continued, showing me sleeping peacefully until my abrupt, terrified awakening at 3:07. I slammed the laptop shut. My whole body was shaking. I vomited into my small trash can, the acidic bile burning my already raw throat. It was real. It was all real. The thing from the hallway wasn't a dream. It was here, in my room, touching me. I called Sarah, babbling, hysterical. I told her about the video. She came over immediately, her face a mask of concern. I played it for her. She watched in silence, her hand flying to her mouth when the figure appeared. When it was over, she was pale. "Dan, what is that?" she whispered. You see? You see it. It's not a dream. It's scratching me. It's right there. It looks like a shadow, a trick of the light," but her voice lacked its usual conviction. She had seen it turn towards the camera. She had felt it too. "It's not a trick, Sarah. It's in my dreams, and it's here, in my apartment." We spent the rest of the night on the couch, with every light in the apartment blazing. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The following day, Sarah insisted I see a doctor, a sleep specialist. I went, desperate for any other explanation. The doctor, a kind-faced man with a soothing voice, listened to my story. He looked at the scratches, now faint pink lines on my neck. He dismissed the video as likely a combination of sleep paralysis and pareidolia, the brain's tendency to see patterns in random shapes. "The mind is a powerful thing, Dan," he said. "During sleep paralysis, you're awake, but your body is still in a state of sleep. Atonia, muscle paralysis. It's often accompanied by terrifying hallucinations. The feeling of a presence, a pressure on the chest, a malevolent figure. The scratches could very well be self-inflicted during a moment of partial movement. The brain, trying to make sense of the hallucination, creates a narrative, the dream you remember." It was a good explanation, a sane explanation. For a moment, I clung to it. Sleep paralysis. It had a name. It was a known phenomenon. Maybe that was it. But then I remembered the video. The way it turned its head. The precise, deliberate nature of the scratches. The doctor prescribed a mild sedative to help you achieve a deeper, more restful sleep cycle. Break the pattern. That night, bolstered by Sarah's presence and the pill, I felt a glimmer of hope. We slept in my bed, the lights off but a nightlight plugged in the hallway. I fell into a heavy, chemical-induced sleep. And the dream came anyway. This time, it was different. I wasn't in the hallway. I was in my own bedroom, dreaming that I was in my own bedroom. It was a perfect replica. I was lying in bed, and I could see Sarah sleeping beside me. I could see the nightlight glowing from the hallway, and I could see the figure standing in the doorway. It was solid now, more real than ever. Its grub white skin was stretched taut over a skeletal frame. Its face was still a blur, a shifting vortex of shadows, but I could feel its hunger, its ancient bottomless malice. It took a step into the room, its movements a series of stuttering, unnatural jerks. "You showed me to the light," the deadly voice rasped behind Shin Vesan in my mind. "Now I show you the dark." It glided to the side of the bed, ignoring me, and looked down at Sarah. A terror beyond anything I had ever known seized me. This wasn't about me anymore. "No," I tried to say in the dream, but no sound came out. The figure reached out one of its long, pale hands and brushed a strand of hair from Sarah's forehead. She stirred in her sleep, a small, worried frown on her face. "She is warm," the thing whispered. "She is full of light. I will taste it." It leaned down, its featureless head descending towards her throat. I fought against the paralysis of the dream, screaming with a voice that didn't exist. I had to wake up. I had to protect her. With a final Herculean effort, I wrenched myself from sleep. I bolted upright, gasping. The room was just as it had been in the dream. Sarah was beside me, sleeping peacefully. The nightlight glowed. The doorway was empty. Trembling, I reached for the glass of water on my bedside table. My hand knocked it over. The sound of shattering glass woke Sarah. "Dan, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice thick with sleep. I couldn't speak. I just pointed a shaking finger at the doorway. There was nothing there. "Another nightmare?" she asked softly, sitting up. She reached for me, and as she did, the collar of her t-shirt shifted. There, on the smooth, unblemished skin of her neck, were 3 thin red scratches. A sound, half gasp, half scream, died in my raw throat. She saw the look on my face, and her hand flew to her neck. Her fingers touched the welts, and she flinched. What is this?" she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "It stings." I told her about the dream, about the thing leaning over her. The cold, rational nurse in her was gone, replaced by a primal, shared terror. We turned on all the lights again and didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, we packed a bag and went to her place. I couldn't stay in my apartment anymore. We thought distance would help. We were wrong. The first night at Sarah's was quiet. No dreams, no scratches. We dared to hope. The second night, I woke at 3:07 a.m. I wasn't in the hallway. I was on Sarah's couch, where I'd been sleeping. The figure was standing in the living room, its head brushing the ceiling. It pointed at Sarah's bedroom door. The message was clear. "There is no escape. I am not tied to a place. I am tied to you." I started to unravel. I stopped going to work. I was afraid to sleep, existing in a permanent state of exhausted, jittery fear. The scratches on my neck were a constant presence, old ones healing as new ones appeared. I started seeing the figure in my peripheral vision during the day, a flicker of movement in a dark corner, a tall, thin shadow cast by a lamppost where no person stood. I was being hunted, haunted, worn down to a nub. Sarah, God bless her, stuck by me. She researched everything she could: sleep disorders, paranormal entities, psychological phenomena. She found stories, similar ones, about a tall man figure and waking nightmares, but they were just stories. There were no answers. In a final, desperate act, I decided to go back to my apartment, back to the epicenter. I had to face it. I had to try and break the connection, even if it killed me. I didn't tell Sarah. I knew she'd try to stop me. I went in the middle of the day, when the sun was high. The apartment felt wrong, stale and cold, despite the sunlight. It felt watched. I went to the bedroom. The air was thick and heavy. I could smell it, the ozone, the old blood. I didn't have a plan. I was just a man at the end of his rope. As dusk began to fall, I sat on the edge of my bed, waiting. I had no camera, no sedatives, just me and whatever was coming. Exhaustion eventually claimed me. I fell into a fitful sleep, and I found myself in the hallway. It was different this time. The walls were closer, the ceiling lower. The figure was there, but it wasn't at the other end. It was right in front of me, so close I could see the texture of its vile, grub-white skin, see the shadows swirling where its face should be. The pressure of its attention was immense, a weight threatening to crush my soul. "No more running," it whispered, and the sound was inside my skull, scratching at the bone. It reached for me. This time, it wasn't going to scratch. Its long, pointed fingers aimed for my eyes. In the dream, I did the only thing I could think of. I didn't try to run. I didn't try to fight. I spoke. "What do you want?" My dream voice was a cracked and broken thing. The fingers stopped, an inch from my face. The swirling shadows of its face seemed to slow. "To be seen," it hissed. "To be real. Dreams are not enough. I feed on the fear that bleeds into the waking world. Your terror is my anchor. Your proof is my life to me." And in a horrifying flash of understanding, I got it. This thing, this entity, existed in the liminal space between sleep and wakefulness. It fed on the dissonance, on the moment when a dream becomes so real it leaves a mark. My fear, my insistence that it was real, the physical evidence of the scratches, it was all giving it power. It was making it more substantial, pulling it further into my world. The doctor, Sarah, they had it backwards. Telling me it was a dream wasn't dismissing the truth. It was the only way to fight it. By believing it was real, by collecting proof, I was inviting it in. I was building its body with my own terror. It leaned closer. "And now, you have given me so much. I am almost here." Its finger touched my forehead. It wasn't cold. It was burning, like dry ice. An unimaginable pain shot through me, a pain that was both mental and physical. I could feel my sanity fraying, unraveling at the edges like the old wallpaper in the hall. I woke up screaming in the real world, on my bed, clawing at my face. The pain on my forehead was real, a searing brand. I stumbled into the bathroom, flicking on the light. In the mirror, in the center of my forehead, were 3 perfect parallel scratches, deep and weeping blood. And beneath them, my eyes. They weren't my own. They were hollow, terrified, and deep in the pupils, I saw a flicker of something else, a reflection of a long, pale face with a swirling, shadowy void where its features should be. I collapsed to the floor. That was a week ago. I'm back at Sarah's now. I told her my realization. We're trying a new approach. We're trying to deny it. When I wake up at 3:07, we don't talk about the dream. We don't look at the scratches. We put antiseptic on them in silence, and we pretend they're from a rash, from allergies, from anything but it. It's hard. The dreams are worse than ever. It's angry. It shows me terrible things. Sarah trapped in the hallway, my own body lying still and cold. The scratches are deeper now, sometimes on my arms, my chest. This morning, I found 3 on the sole of my foot. The worst part is, I see it even when I'm awake now. A tall, thin shape standing across the street in the rain. A pale face watching from a crowd, gone when I blink. It's knitting itself into my reality, thread by bloody thread. I'm writing this down because I need to get it out. I need to externalize the terror, but in a way that disowns it. This is just a story, a creepypasta. Something for people to read online and get a spooky thrill. It's not real. None of it is real. They told me it was a dream. I have to believe them. Because the scratches are so very, very real. And if I stop believing it's all in my head, even for a second, I fear the next mark it leaves won't be a scratch. It will be a door, and it will step through, fully formed, into our world. And it will be my fault. So please, if you wake up at the same time every night, if you have a recurring nightmare, if you see a tall, thin figure in the shadows of your room, listen to the people who tell you it's just a dream. Believe them with every fiber of your being. Do not seek proof. Do not try to record it. Do not give it a name. Because once it has a name, once you have proof, it has you. And the scratches, they're just the beginning.